It's a special day. We're going to focus a little bit on recruiting and having that eye as a scout. And we have a special guest today, former NFL scout, major Division I director of recruiting at some Power 5 institutions, Mr. Kenny Sanders. Welcome.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Happy to be here. Can't wait to talk and get into some of these hot topics with you guys and discuss what's going on in the world today.
You might not have been able to make it to the league physically, but you were able to make it to the league or leagues mentally, right? You put yourself and you positioned yourself so that you could utilize some of the skills that you had best and positioned yourself, man, to still be in the league and to still be in top level NCAA at Power 5.
I always kind of had an eye for talent. I parlayed that into, having an opportunity to do some internships, staying around the game. Eric mentioned, I worked at the NFL league office in New York City. A lot of you guys, like myself, come from the inner city. My dad wasn't an executive in the NFL. I kind of had to go about the hard way, pay my dues, do a whole lot of internships before I got my big break. And I just grinded, used that hard work that, a lot of you guys have that can translate from your sports, attitudes going into the corporate world or whatever world you're going to. Use that work ethic and just grinded my way up the ladder from an intern to eventually last year being the director of scouting for the director of recruiting for the University of Oregon. But after the NFL, I got another internship with the Baltimore Ravens in their scouting department, and then eventually made my way to become a scout with those guys. Fortunate enough to win a Super Bowl back in 2013 with the Ravens, so that was an awesome experience. Following that, I took the assistant director job at Penn State in 2014. They were coming off some turmoil times there at Penn State, went through a lot, but we were able to turn that thing around. A lot of you guys know about the Saquon Barkleys of the world and, the Micah Parsons of the world right now. But there were a lot of other young men that, may not have the notoriety, but definitely helped us win a lot.
Were those guys brought in on your watch, the Micah Parsons and the Saquon Barkleys? Was that on your watch, Kenny?
So I definitely had a hand in. So when you're recruiting, you do it as a group effort. Now, the coaches have, and you guys that are being recruited right now, you guys know the coaches are the ones talking to you guys a lot. But what I say makes elite programs really good at recruiting is when they have elite recruiters that can do the recruitment of those athletes. And I'm just going to be point blank with you guys. I'm the best college recruiter in the country. And I'm not saying that as a boast or a brag, but I got to feel that way about myself if I want to be really good at my job. And you guys have got to have that mentality and that mindset if you want to really be good. There are a lot of guys that do it on a high level. I could name guys in the industry for college recruiting that do a really good job. Guys out at USC, guys down at Mississippi State, guys I've worked with, guys that I admire across this industry. But I'm willing to put myself head-to-head against any of those guys to go get a kid. But a lot of that comes down to relationships, building trust. Not every school is going to be for every prospect. So you got to kind of find out where your niche is for what you offer and be able to sell that product and make that kid believe that, this school works for them. So for all you guys getting recruited out there, a lot of you guys want to get 50 offers, 20 offers. At the end of the day, you just need one. The one that makes sense to you and the one that's going to fit your goals and your dreams in life. It may be the NFL. It may be using that college degree to become a doctor. It could be going to the NFL and becoming a doctor. Whatever your dreams and your goals are, past the game of football, because these guys will tell you, you're going to hang up those cleats eventually, and you're going to be a young man, so you better have that piece of paper behind you once you're done so you can go forward to the next stage of life and accomplish the rest of your dreams and use that NFL or that college degree to back you and propel you to the next phase of your life. So got into college recruiting, did that at Penn State for 5 years, Big Ten championship, a lot of amazing families and amazing young men were able to come through that Penn State program and are still there today. And then I was offered the job at the University of Oregon in 2019, and I took the director job there. Had a historic class there, signed the most 5 stars ever in Oregon history last year, and won a Pac-12 championship. Juwan Johnson was a grad transfer from Penn State, had the winning game-sealing catch in the Rose Bowl last year. And so, everything's been, very successful, and I've been very fortunate to have a lot of people in my life that have helped me get to the parts where I am now and keep that thing going.
What's some stuff you'd tell a younger scout that's trying to follow up behind? What's some tips to go for you? Because it's not a easy business to get into.
World, it's just like anything else. If you want to be really good at that, you got to practice. It's no different than the game of football. You got to be really up on your game. The difference, people always ask me this question, what positions do you scout? Like, well, what do you do? When you're a scout, when you're a personnel guy, you have to know every position. It doesn't matter what position I played. If I want to evaluate talent at the highest level, I got to be able to know everything. So when I'm teaching some of my young guys that I've brought up, from interns or younger guys that worked under me, I do a lot of kind of scout school type things with those guys. And I make sure I show them the good, the bad, and the ugly at every position. I want to compare and contrast. So if you have anybody out there that's really interested in maybe getting into scouting, you can't look at the 5 stars. I mean, that's going to be what it's supposed to look like most of the time. You got to look at the 3 stars, the 2 stars, the no stars. There's a ton of guys in the NFL that had no stars coming out of high school. Stars don't matter. They don't matter at all. If you can play football, listen, I don't care. I mean, 40s matter, bench press matters. Football is not a weightlifting competition. It's not a track team. You got to play football. The tape's got to look like what's supposed to look like based on your position, and you got to be able to have some intangibles from a character standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, if you want to be successful. All those things matter because that's going to propel you, your work ethic, all those other things. You want to talk about how gifted and talented Saquon Barkley is as a football player? There's nobody in the country that's outworked that kid. He'd be in the gym early mornings, late night, off days, and double workout days, didn't matter. The reason why he's so good is because he worked at it. So when you're looking as a scout at talent and you're evaluating that, you got to be able to identify not just is this guy a good player, but is he going to fit into our system? How's it going to work out? And then when you're talking about recruiting a college kid, I might be looking at a 15-year-old, and I got to project him being a 21-year-old. All those things come into play. NFL's a little bit different. I'm drafting a first-round pick. He's 21, 22. He's playing next year. That's the kind of a little bit more of a finished product. We hope he develops and gets better at his craft, obviously, but the pieces are already a little bit there. He's fully grown. A 15-year-old and a 22-year-old are not even the same human being. When you're offering a 15-year-old kid, that's a projection. You hope he has the tools, the work ethic, everything else that comes along with it, but you got to make sure that you're doing the background. What kind of environment does he come from? What do his grades look like? Guys, do not slip on the grades. Don't wait till your junior year, just get in them books and get it right, because you'll be playing catch up and not have to worry about everything else that should have been taken care of on the front end. You got to knock that stuff out first, because at the end of the day, you have to have the eligibility to play. Don't let an opportunity slip away from you, because you could be the most talented kid sitting on the sideline or at home not playing college football.
If a kid wants to be recruited by you, what would be a tangible skill he can showcase to let you know he's going to be a hard worker, he's passionate, those kind of things?
It's effort. It's harder. It's harder now in the recruiting world. Recruiting schools recruiting you have to put out more effort. So you as a recruit, you in turn have to put out more effort. You can't be too cool for school. You can't be, I'm going to figure it out. It's going to be all right. I mean, no. If you have interest in your future and where you're going to go, then be an active participant in the process. It's not like nobody's too cool for all this. Everybody is dealing with some kind of loss, some kind of adversity in this whole thing. So everybody has to adapt. If it was business as usual, it could be handled a different way. But right now, everyone has to adapt, whether you have 50 offers or no offers. And the funny thing is, it's like the guys that have not been as recruited are kind of a little bit more adept to handling with that, because they've been a little bit more selling themselves.
Because like you said, you didn't have to get to the NFL as a player. And I didn't have to do that as a player. And I got to the point of working with NFL guys and working in Power 5 schools. There are other alternatives. So how important is programming now in the schools?
And, I don't think there's anything more important than programming, helping these guys, in the next stage going forward, because the reality of the situation is over the last, probably like 5 to 10 years ago, I think they started to really understand how important that was. That's why you see a lot of schools having the role of player development, and not only just one guy, or some schools didn't have any. Now most schools have at least one. Some schools have a whole team of player development. Those things are so important, because we all know the story of even the guy that makes it to the NFL that a couple years out, where are they now? They're in bad situations or whatever, because they didn't have any guys or they never even thought what's going to happen after this thing is over. But now schools are putting in the resources to do clinics, workshops. I know Penn State does a whole career day where they bring in hundreds of businesses. Maybe they have Penn State connections, maybe they don't, just from the community, Wall Street, everything, just to give these guys an idea of what's out there. Not saying that, hey, don't go to the NFL, but these are other options when you're done playing, when you're not done playing.
Hey, give me your top Saquon Barkley story. Top Saquon Barkley story. Let me hear that.
I remember one time in the summer I saw him out in the field in the summertime, just hitting the single man sled by himself. His shirt was off. It was hot, sweating. He's hitting it. So I walk out there, and this is right before his junior year. I walk out there, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he said, I hear to make it in the NFL, you got to be really good on special teams. So I'm just working on my front line block for kickoff return. And I was like, any special teams coordinator puts you on front line is getting fired the next day. But that's the point is,
no doubt, you're out of there.
But I didn't even have the heart to tell him. I was just like, all right, go ahead, man. All right, whatever. Right. But he was going to do whatever it took. Now, mind you, this is before his junior year. He was already Saquon at that point. That was after the Rose Bowl. So he just never lost that mindset of hard work pays off. I'm going to do whatever it takes.
The rock back to buying the XFL, do you think it sticks this time? From if COVID don't shut down last year, you think that's going to be a viable thing?
I tell you what, I don't know how many of y'all were watching it, but I was actually watching the XFL. It was doing some good stuff. Good ball. Had a couple of former players that went in there.
It was good ball. It was good
ball.
Wow. Yeah. Out here in St. Louis, it was jumping.
Yeah. I tell you what, if they can follow the motto, the model that they were on, they had some good people in the organization. Shout out to my man Justin King from Penn State, my man Ivan Ostro that were out there in the administration part of that, putting that thing off the ground. If they can keep that going, I think it's going to be all right. And I would have never said that before I actually saw the product on the field, because I thought they're not trying to compete with the NFL. They have their market, they have their niche, but it's good ball.
Again, thank you for joining today's episode of Players Talk Live on the Broad Network. Kenny, I want to give you this opportunity, man. Let people know where you are in the socials, anything you got coming up, man. We want to give you the platform, too, to launch yourself as well.
Yeah, I'm easy to find. Just my name on all the social platforms with no vowels, KNNYSNDRS. That's on all the platforms the same. So, please, if you guys have any questions, I'm accessible. I'm easy to find. Everything's open. So slide in those DMs, hit me on the messages. Any questions, anything, you guys be like, hey, just watch my film. Tell me what you think I could work on. I'd love to give you guys any advice or any steer you guys in the right direction. Please, definitely willing to help. So anything I can do.
Man,
awesome. And Players Talk Live can be found on all social media platforms as well, and podcasts. We know we're going to be following Coach Sanders. And at the end of the day, I hope he believes in Players Talk Live and what we have going. So I'm your host, Chad Allen, with my co-hosts Tommy Polley and Eric King. We're signing out from Players Talk Live, where athlete voices matter.